Hello, this is Hooked by Happenstance, and I'm Kendra, and it is time for another Makes Monday episode. I don't know which one. Practical. So it has been 6 weeks since I've made a regular Makes Monday video. There was one last week that covered all my fair projects, but that was a little weird because some of those projects have been done for practically a year. So, you know, it wasn't all timely, and there were things I completed in that time frame that were not for the fair, and I didn't talk about any of those. So sit back, because this might be a rather lengthy episode. I don't really know. We'll see how it all goes together. So this video might be put together a little bit differently than the Makes Monday episodes usually are, because I have some different things that I want to show you. So it's going to be a little bit more vloggy, I think, than a usual just like sit down, stay in one place, go through a whole list. But it will be like any other episode of Makes Monday, because we are going to start with a word of the week. Before that, I just want to address, because I flail my hands around plenty, I steam burned like the front of my left hand pretty bad about 2 weeks ago, and it's still healing, so it looks kind of funky, and between that and band-aids and whatever, it might draw your attention, because it draws mine when I watch these. I'm fine. It's healing. I can still crochet, so we're all good. I just have to make sure it's all bandaged when I crochet, because then it doesn't hurt. Okay, moving on to our word of the week. This week's word is practical. According to Merriam-Webster, practical is an adjective meaning of or concerned with the actual doing or use of something rather than with theory and ideas. The second definition is so nearly the case that it can be regarded as so virtual. So we're basically going to focus on the first one, the ever concerned with the actual doing or use of something. In the last 6 weeks, I have been, well, we've been very busy around here. We've been remodeling our house, trying to make it more practical. And I also have kind of shifted my focus in the projects I'm working on to things that I feel like have purpose. Practical things that I can use in my life, because as we've been putting everything back from our remodeling, I've been finding all those little holes in projects and things where I was like, oh, I wish I had a rug. Oh, I wish I had finished this project for the house. Oh, this, that, the other thing. So I'm trying to be more practical in the choices I'm making, following some whims, but trying to also let those whims be practical and things that I can use immediately, because hello, it's still quite hot here in Kansas. You might even hear my air conditioner going because it's quite warm in the house this evening. So it's important to find projects to do that I can use right away, because a lot of things that I might consider working on are going to just have to go and sit in the closet for at least a month or two before I can get to them. And 6 weeks ago, when I filmed the last one, that was most certainly true. 6 weeks is a long time, people. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to show you is how I have been doing my on the hook list since I've established my new office space. So here is a look at my on the hook list. You had been sitting right there on top of these index cards and this tape. Isn't that a nice place? I had to move my sunflower for you to have a spot. But anyways, here is my on the hook list, and it is quite lengthy. There were 20 items on it at the beginning of this week, but I have managed to clear some of them off. Now, this also currently has all of the things that I've completed are hanging up, but I'm going to pull those cards down so that we can talk about them, and I can see that I'm making progress on getting some of these things done. So, I'm going to set you down. So here is the stack of all the things I completed before the last week of July, I think. So I completed my Inspirit Mint shawl, which you can see the Inspirit Mint right here. I guess I never filmed a podcast to really talk about it. This is the Patreon exclusive pattern. If you are interested in the pattern for this, if you join my Patreon page at patreon.com/hookedbyhappenstance, you will gain access to this pattern at the $2 level or above. Everybody gets their name on the Schwall of Fame and gets access to the pattern. It is a slightly asymmetrical. It is not an exact triangle, and that is what allows it to kind of hang in this heart-like shape. Slightly asymmetrical shawl. This version is made out of 3 colors. I'm currently working on one in a single color, and this is made out of Michael's Loops and Threads Soft and Shiny. And I showed it on in one of the Let Peachla Pick videos for my fair projects when she let me pick my stole, which was the Experiment. I tried it on so you could see it. But basically, I finished it and immediately stuck it on my wall for my Wall of Fame with all the Patreon names, and then it went back up there after the fair. So I have not gotten to wear it yet. At some point, I will probably make a new shawl for the Wall of Fame, but we've got a few months on that. So those will at least hang out there for the time being. So I finished my Experiment. That was one of the things. And what else did I finish? Oh, my Tides of Change Afghan. I will link the vlog on my daily vlog channel. I gave it to my nephew for his graduation, and I filmed it, and his reaction was really sweet, and he was really nice about it. And he is definitely handmade gift worthy. Like, their family actually uses the things, talks about previous gifts. Like, it's worth it. So it was nice to get to see somebody have a good reaction. I also posted that on my vlog because I think that a lot of times people don't have the best reaction to handmade gifts, and it's nice to see somebody have a really good, genuine, nice reaction. I thought he might have a good one, and he did. He had a better one than I even expected, but I thought that he would be appreciative, and that for all of you who have given a gift and had it not be appreciated, because I've had that happen too, just absorb his joy and, you know, enjoy that appreciative feeling that you don't always get when you put all that love and time and end weaving. Tides of Change. That was ridiculous. Keep saying never again, but I imagine I will forget how terrible it was at some point, and then I'll probably do something similar again. But what was I thinking? I was thinking it turned out beautiful. That's probably what I was thinking. Okay, the other thing that I finished were my normal textured ribbed placemats. I entered those in the fair. You all got to see them last week on the county fair video. And that pattern will be coming out probably at the end of August. I need to wait for my hand to heal before I want to film tutorials, because that's like real close up on my hand. Now, those patterns will probably not be available just on my YouTube channel. I am going to film a video tutorial, but it's going to go up on Patreon. And I will talk about that more as that time gets nearer. But there's a lot of work that goes into filming tutorials and writing patterns and stuff. And so that's just how I'm working it out. So anyways, the other thing that I finished was my blue-gray cardigan, which was my Keldon cardigan, which has already been put away in my bathroom. Just because I have 2 shelves in the closet in the bathroom, and that's where I keep all of my handmade goodies, my scarves, hats, shawls, sweaters, all the things live in there so I can get to them whenever I want them when it's cold, because I keep weird hours and everybody else is upstairs, so I have best access if I leave them in the bathroom closet. Anyways, I showed that on the Let Peachla Pick, where I picked it for my fair project, so if you want to see up close and personal of the Keldon cardigan that I made for myself, it was a Velvet Acorn pattern by Heidi May. Oh, and the Tides of Change is by Frank O. Randall. Okie dokie. Then there are 3 things that I made that were super practical, and I made these. 2 of them I finished on July 22nd. For a little while I was writing what date I finished things, because I realized I hadn't made a podcast in a while, and I wanted to know that I really was kind of getting things done little by little. So I made these and finished them end of July, and they went real quick. So we're going to field trip to my kitchen real fast so that I can show you my new kitchen holders. So I do a lot of cooking and canning and all the things in my kitchen because we grow a lot of our own food, and yeah, we're just those kind of people. So I have had for years many canisters, like 3 I think at one point, on my counter full of the wooden spoons, and I have quite the assortment of spatulas because I like to, and flippers and ladles and all the things. So I had them on my counter, and I feel like they always got dirty because of being next to my stove, and it's a pain to wash like those ceramic crock things. I also didn't like they were taking up counter space, especially when I was canning. They would then sometimes end up behind what I was working on, and I would have to reach over like hot jars on my counter, and I felt like it was not the safest thing. So I came up with a solution. These are the kitchen holders that I made. I started this yellow one a while ago on the channel. One of my first speedy stitches was me working on the basket weave portion, and then I finished it later. Was it for a freaker frog? I don't remember, but I did finish that a while ago, and it had been hanging here. These are just some towel rods. They had actually been inside the cabinets in the kitchen when we moved in here. This had been my grandma's house before it was ours, if you did not know. And so I thought that was kind of neat to keep that from her old kitchen. We took those rods out and hung them up. And then I've been making these to hang off of them. So the yellow one I had already finished. And then I started by making this green one. And I just kind of made up the pattern as I went along. I made a flat bottom and then just went around it in a back loop only. Then did stitching that I liked till I felt like it was tall enough. Made some straps. Sewed on some wooden buttons. And now I have one to hold my wooden spoons. And then I made this little one out of the blue. And it has a similar flat bottom, but just a different texture. But I didn't have enough. This is one whole skein of the blue, and there was not enough. I didn't have any more blue, so that's how long the straps ended up, which did actually make for a nice little shorty one that has my basting brush and my whisks, because I don't use them very often, and usually my blue stick for canning is in there that I use to measure the height of the gap you leave in the top of the jar. So those all live there, and then these have spoons and spatulas and things. Some stuff is in the wash right now. And then I made this one to serve more the purpose that I've been looking for with that blue one. And this is the color Black Currant. And it stores all of my rubber spatulas. And there's actually, I think, like I said, there's a few that are in the dishwasher right now. So they're all hanging here. And this is my canning jar lifter. And then here on the wall, you can see there's my shelves. We have open shelving with all of my spices and things on it, easy to access. And then over here, there's just my magnet strips with all of my knives. So like I have a really good, easily accessible cooking area. And then these are wonderful because they're not on my counter space. I don't have to reach over things to get to them because it's always open. And I can wash them if I need to. So I don't have to be scrubbing oil off something. I can just throw it in the washing machine and let it do the work. After I finished working on all of those bags, I was kind of on a cotton kick. It was so hot, and it was so nice to have a light, small, tiny project that was cotton, and so it wasn't warm, and most of the other things that were on my on the hook list, or that I probably felt like I would have wanted to prioritize. No, I didn't say I should prioritize, but I wanted to. They were all big and warm, and that just seemed really unappealing, and I also just did not have the mental capacity to do anything that was too patterned. So I started making dust mop covers. If you've been following along for a period of time, you know that I redid my office, but the original impetus for my office getting redone was that we needed to redo our floors on our main level, and because my office at the time connected to our kitchen, it all needed to be floored together. Our kitchen, parlor, and my office were going to need to be done at the same time. And so we were going to tear out the carpet in here and do all the things, and we ultimately like closed in a doorway and moved the door over here, and it became a bigger project than it sounded like in the beginning, but we're already just like over the moon excited and happy with it, and it is so much more functional for our family. So the main reason we did it though was to put in new floors. So we put in click lock cork floor, and I love it, and it feels amazing, and I feel very strongly about it, and yeah, so let's like not mess with my floor, right? Which meant that I bought new brooms, could not find the magical broom that like I really like love and wanted, if you all have heard me talk about that. But I found a suitable, okay substitute. Note, I'm not the only person who loves that broom. I found out the grocer who we would buy the broom from, we were talking to him and his wife was like, oh, those were the best brooms, and so he's looking into it. But I have this mop. It's a Libman dust mop. It's kind of like a Swiffer, except a Swiffer has like a not very strong stick. The stick is one piece, so it's way sturdier for cleaning, and I've had this for several years, and it has like a pad that came with it for cleaning, and I like it because it has this little button, and so the thingy opens and closes, as opposed to like a Swiffer where it's a rectangle and you like poke in the corners. This, you close it and then you pop into it. So I used this to measure what I was going to do for dust mops. And I had made one and I was really enjoying it, but I wanted to be able to switch them out regularly because they wash like a dream in the washing machine. So I started making them, and I've made a pile of them, so let's look at them. So I believe this is the Nautical Ombre Peaches and Cream, and I finished this one on the 23rd of July. They're like super simple. They're just like a long, I figured out how many chains it took to make it long enough that I could just kind of tip it over the ends. I overlap by 7 stitches on each side. So I basically just make a long rectangle, then turn it over, and then I slip stitch 7 stitches on each side. And I used a ribbed texture. I did a half double crochet. First I did a row single crochet, then half double crochet, and then single crochet into the 3rd loop, which tips that half double crochet forward and gives you this ribbed thing. The first one that I made to test them out, I did half with the ribbed and half without because I was running out of the yarn, and I found that I liked the ribbed part better. It did a better job of cleaning my floor. So I went ahead and made all of these that way. And this used just the one whole skein of the Nautical Ombre. Then the next one that I did is this one, I think. Is it this one? I think this is it. Fruit Punch Peaches and Cream. I think that's what this color is called. And this is, oh yes, and this is one whole ball. And they claim to be the same weight, and they are both peaches and cream. Now, I did not weigh them before, but the Nautical and this one, I did them back to back, like on the same day and a half. So my gauge should not have changed. And I was like a row short on having enough yarn. So I pulled out some of this black currant and just filled it in. It's like not a big deal. It's a dust mop. But I just found it really strange that I actually had at least this much yarn left of the Nautical Ombre, but not of the Fruit Punch, so I don't know what the deal was with that. Again, I didn't weigh them, so it could have been different. And when you look at the yarns, they are slightly different, even though they're both peaches and cream. But you know how that goes with colorways and stuff. And dye lots, and I didn't buy them at the same time. They've been in stash for a while, so it could have just been a timing thing. I don't know. The other one that I made this one. This color is called Mod Ombre, and I had the same problem I did with the Fruit Punch in that I ran out of yarn, so there's like buttercream or something, I forget what it's called, along the edge, but I made just the same thing. And I think I've mentioned before, whenever I make things out of this to like sell, this is a really good giftable, sellable colorway. It matches a lot of people's decor, and it just makes people happy and smiley, so I do recommend this as a neutral, or if you're giving like housewarming gifts or something, or if you don't know the person very well, this colorway, the Mod Ombre, usually goes over pretty well. Then I made this one, which is called Beach Ball Blues. This is also peaches and cream, and I don't know why they call it Beach Ball Blues, because this is not at all the colors I think of a beach ball being, because I think of them as being red, blue, yellow, and white, you know, like primary colors, but whatever, at least there is a blue in here. So that is this one, and it turned out really pretty, and it was fun, and this yarn was just really pleasant. I mean, dishcloth cotton is dishcloth cotton, but some of it feels better in your hand than others. This one was really pleasant, and then the Nautical Ombre also was pretty pleasant, except I feel like the color a little bit rubbed off on my hand, the blue, but that's neither here nor there, really, now that they're done. Then I did a scrappy one, which was this one, out of just some yellow and orange that I had just some little bits of. Just trying to get through some little hunks I had laying around, stuff that it was bigger than I would have just immediately put it into my cotton scrap stash blanket that I'm working on. They were big enough to like make something still. So they made a large portion, and then they eventually finished out a dust mop. And then finally this one started with the bit of black currant that was left from that other one that I had used, like just a tiny piddly bit. And then the brown is brown left over from another project I finished that I'm about to show you. And then the gold was again another hunk of a large-ish hunk that was just hanging around stash. So that one is done as well. And I think for the time being, that's probably enough dust mops. Then again, I was kind of counting and I'd hoped to have like 7 to 10. And I have what, 2, 4, 5, 6, I have 7. So I'm probably okay. I think I'll just like wait a little bit, but gosh, they were fun to make. So I don't know. We'll see what I come up with. Maybe that's what everybody's getting for Christmas. Probably not though, because you really need the right mop to make it fit. So if you're going to make your own, just check your mop and measure your gauge to your mop and it'll be fine. I do suggest that if you're going to do that, just make one, test it out, use it to make sure that it stays on with however it is that you mop, because you know everybody pushes on things differently, so make sure that your numbers are okay. And then I would suggest washing it and putting it in the dryer before you make more, because you might find out that things don't fit the way you think they will once they've been washed. Next on my practical project parade, I have completed 2 more things, so let me grab the first one. The first thing I completed is this rug, which is going to go in my kitchen. It was made out of a number of balls of peaches and cream, and now the names are escaping me. I was sure I was going to remember them. This is why I should write things down. If you really care, let me know, and I can see if I have the ball bands floating around. Anyways, the way that I did this is I held 2 strands double, and I made up my own pattern, which I really like, and I think might be a rug pattern that I use again in the future. But I held my yarn double, and for this outside row, what I did is I worked from the inside and outside of the ball simultaneously. So this is just one skein, but doubled. Then the next section, I held that same color, but with a solid brown, and I did the entirety of those 2 balls. Now I had extra brown, but when I got to the end, I just went ahead and cut it. Those were part of the ends that went into that scrappy dust mop. Then here I have this brown toned one, and I again held it double, worked from the inside and outside at the same time, and it gave me this size stripe. Then again we did the beigey gray brown variegated one, held double with a brown. Again, I had a chunk of brown left at the end, but I just went ahead and put those scraps in that dust mop. I worked from the beginning of a new ball. I didn't start with that little scrappy bit. You could, but it was just so much easier to make sure that I knew I had enough yarn doing it the way I did. And I figure if I ran out, I could always put that scrap in later, but it just fewer ends to weave in. Then again, we did a brown stripe that had front and back, inside and outside of the ball at the same time. Then again, one more with the variegated and brown held double, and then finally ended again with the variegated held double with itself. And so that ended up being a total of what? 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 balls. 10 balls of yarn to make this. And I had gotten those balls of yarn on like super good clearance. I'm fairly certain. I guess a couple of the colors, at least one of the colors I had bought just on really good sale at Michael's, but I know that one batch of them were things that I'd gotten on clearance at my local Walmart at some point, and they've just been kicking around my stash, and this color will look really good with my kind of creamy beigey brown floor. So this will help protect the floor in front of the sink in my kitchen, and now that I've showed it to you, I can start using it, which I'm so excited to use it, but I didn't want to mess it up before I showed you. The next thing that I worked on is not practical for me to use right now, but is practical for me to work on. I am trying to cut down on my on the hook list. As you saw, it is large and it is becoming a bit overwhelming because of the way it is now displayed on my wall. I am aware of it. Like, I can't ignore it, which is a good thing, as opposed to like the project bags that I keep on a shelf and they look pretty, and so I kind of enjoy the like little heap of projects, and they're all closed in their bags. They don't get messed up. So I'm not as aware of what all is kicking around that I have not finished. But these little papers, when my fan is going, they like kind of blow on my wall, and I just see them, and they're a thing that I feel like I need to conquer in some way. So I am working on that. And I have kind of spent the last week, this actual last week, as opposed to the 5 before it, this last week trying to finish things. And one of the things that I knew I had wanted to work on, and I had actually considered done and worn a bunch this winter, was this. This is my Lodge sweater, you may all remember. This is made out of a Caron Jumbo in the color Dalmatian, and as I say every time, I've never met a Dalmatian this color. Dalmatians are primarily white, but whatever. Clearly, you can name colors things that make no sense, like Beach Balls Blues and Dalmatian. It's like being a meteorologist. You don't have to be that good at your job, and nobody fires you. So, anyways, this has been my Lodge sweater, and I've been enjoying it, except I stopped because I ran out of yarn, and I convinced myself it was okay, and I wore it with leggings, and every time I wore it, I spent the whole time pulling down on the front and wishing it was longer. So, what did I do? I bought another skein of yarn with the intent to make it longer, and then started doing all the other projects for months and did not make it longer. I even feel like I bought more yarn for it and continued to wear it, unhappy with it. So, I got out my hook, and I actually, this pattern is called the Lodge Sweater. It is by Annie's Crochet, the Annie's website. And it's a paid-for pattern. I am not going to recommend this pattern because I needed the largest size, and I don't think the proportions carry across. And I don't think the mannequin it is showed on is like an actual human-sized mannequin, so I think it's deceiving. But, that being said, with all the tweaks I made to this pattern, which you will probably remember from when I made it, I like the end product, but I would not recommend the pattern to you at this point. So, the front has these like motify bits. It's hard to see. There's like these motify bits that are kind of like a granny square style. And then underneath, you're supposed to have a ribbing on the bottom. And I did not like, I had done the ribbing, or at least part of it when I first made it, and I did not like the way it fit, and I did not like the way it looked. Like, it drew attention places we did not need to draw attention, and it was not very comfortable to wear that way. So I just did not put the ribbing on the arms or the bottom. But, here, I'll just turn it inside out so you can see better. I did add, what, 2, 4, 6, 8 rounds to the bottom. So the motify bit ends here. And so I added this much onto it. And now it is longer, and I just like it so much better. I also, in the bottom rounds I had done on it before, I had done like 2 rounds, and then I went down a hook size, and 2 rounds I went down a hook size. So I think that the body of this was done in a J. It might have been a K. And I had gotten down to using an H. And so I continued with my H, which made it do a nice tapering thing on the bottom without having to have ribbing. And it sits more neatly because it did it gradually and in its own time. It's not like it's cinched in, it's just tapered a little. So it sits a little closer to my hips so it stays down. I am looking forward to wearing that. I've tried it on twice since I finished it for like a minute, and it was very warm and cozy, which is not at all what I'm interested in August in Kansas. But it will be delightful in like January in Kansas. You'll probably see me snuggled up in that all the time now. So I'm glad that I made the choice, the practical choice, to work on something that had been bothering me, that I had the yarn for, and now I can use the rest. I have so much of that Jumbo Caron, not Caron cake, the Jumbo Caron. It's like a Caron 1 pound, but it's the ones that aren't a pound, so they call them Jumbo instead. So I have a whole bunch of it, and it's just acrylic, so I can use it for something, but I kept not using it because I wanted to make sure I had enough for the project I had bought it for. So now that I've used it for that, I can start using it up, which will be great because it's good to make practical uses of the things that I already have on hand. Because I have plenty of stash. I can play with what's here and then maybe add a thing or two as I need it. But there's lots of good and creative things already in this room. No need to buy new things. Okay, what else have I been working on? I think that is everything I've finished. That is everything that is off my hook. Alrighty, so on to things that are still on my hook. The first thing I'm going to talk about is another one of the Inspiritment shawls. So I started this, well, my husband was having soccer games and things because he was in an adult soccer league, And I don't know, I needed a new project and I wanted to play with the Inspiritment pattern and try doing it in a single color. So I am using Red Heart Super Saver in the color Artistic Print. Artist Print. I always say artistic. Artist Print. Because I have a bunch of skeins of it because I bought it to make a weather blanket, and then that was a failed attempt. Or no. Yeah, weather blanket? Mood. I bought to make a mood and weather blanket actually because I use the same colors for both. So, anyways, here we are chugging along on my Inspiritment. I'm a few repeats in. I'm actually an entire skein in, and then here you can see where I joined my second skein in and worked over my tails. So this is the beginning of the second skein, and it's been slow going, not because the pattern is slow, because I just haven't picked up this project very much. I usually grab it when I have nothing else to take with me when we're going somewhere. So again, it's just slowly puttering along because it's something I don't really have to think about when I'm working on, because I know the pattern. I've been really happy with this. I like the way it's turning out. It's a fairly dense product. It's turning out denser and a little less drapey, like a lot less drapey than the original one I made out of the Soft and Shiny. But I know that Super Saver gets softer and just more cuddly, I guess, as you wash it. So I'm not too worried, and I have been considering gifting this, or it might be for me. I don't know, we'll see. I like it, so might just stay here, unless I have some particular inclination otherwise when I get done with it. But for now, it's just a nice project to have around, and I'm enjoying it. I am trying to clear things off my list, so I am trying to get it done, but I'm not, like, you know, unhappy about it. So I'm enjoying the process as I get through this one. Next thing I was working on is this, it's got a yarn and it's stuck to my foot, and okay. Crisis averted. So this is some yarn that I was gifted from my friend Kat, who has Cattails yarn. She's Cat Straight on Instagram, if you would like to see her yarns and things. And I am making a top here out of this yarn, which she so nicely sent to me when she was first like starting out and figuring out her colors and things. She sent me a little care package earlier this year. Oh, let's see, I have the ball band right here. So this is Cattails yarn in the colorway Burgit. This is not like the finished colorway. She did some like tweaking. This is the colorway that exists, but it doesn't look exactly like this one. This is a DK 240 yards per 100 grams, 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and this is 200 grams worth, so it's 2 skeins of DK. And I designed it and figured out all the measurements. Actually, I used a top that I already owned that I liked to like figure things out on. And I used the majority of the yarn that I have to make this part. And I had plans on how I wanted to do the back with some other yarn that I had on hand. When I tried several yarns that I have, I just was not happy with the way any of the colors look with it. So for now, this is just going to sit aside and decide what it wants to do and how it wants to grow up. Because I know I could just buy more of this yarn, right? I could buy a couple more skeins, but I don't really want a completely yellow top. Like the top I see in my head has a different colored back than the front. And I have some ideas for the way I want to actually do the physical design of the back. So it's just hanging out and waiting because I like the front so much. I don't want the back to not like match what's in my head. So this is a design in progress for myself. It's just waiting. But it feels really nice. And Kat has a sale going right now. She's going to have a trunk show. So if you're interested in yarn that looks pretty like this, go check out her shop, Cattails Yarn on Etsy. Okie dokie. The next thing that I worked on is not going to be for me. So my oldest sister had her birthday at the end of June, and I did not present her or anything because I was not physically with her. And I usually only like gift things when I'm with people. So I happened to see her though this summer, and I had been working on this project for her, and so this will be her birthday gift. It's just gonna be late. And this is the one I was talking about where I was making something and I'm really enjoying it, but I don't know exactly what it's going to be, and I'm letting the design like tell me what it's going to be. I think it's going to be a ruana, and a ruana is like a blanket that you wear, has been what I understand like when I see them. They're usually like a long rectangle, but there's like a slit in the front so that it fits over you. But I want it to be one where she can like sit wearing it. So basically, it's like there's kind of a combination between a shawl and a poncho and a blanket. But I want it to be like the length where it basically sits at like her waist. So you can either put it over like a desk chair and just throw it over your shoulders if you're cold, because she lives in California, so it doesn't ever really get cold. But like air conditioning or fans or whatever. Or I mean, it gets a little cold in Southern California in the winter, but not really, comparatively. So these are the 2 panels so far. And I am keeping track of how I'm doing this, and if it turns out good, it might turn out a thing that other people get to find out how I did it. But for now, it's just something that I'm working on. So it's got 2 panels with kind of some ruby bits and then some pieced bits. And when I feel like it's enough, it's going to get seamed in the back. And then there's going to be a neck piece that gets put on. And the color inspiration for these has been this, which is I love this yarn print in the color Songbird Stripe. I was gifted this by a lovely yarn fairy over a year ago now. So I pulled all the colors out of this. There's going to be some different purples. I have it in my flamingo bag right now. Purples and browns and greens. And we'll see how far I get what I need. I'm kind of trying to use up things that I have on hand. Like I used all the like ribbing section, one of the edges is some Purple with Love, which I had on hand. Used all of that up. Used up a bunch of some greens and just kind of working my way through some stash at the same time. It's getting to make something pretty, and I don't know. It's fun. I'm enjoying this project. It again is going kind of slow too. It goes in fits and starts. Like I'll be working on this project and I'll be like, oh my gosh, that's all I want to do. And then it's kind of warm. So then it gets put to the wayside till a day when it's cooler. So hopefully as the weeks start cooling down a little bit around here, I will get more work done on that. And then it'll be done before it gets cold in California, and then it can wing its way there to her. She knows she's getting it because I tried on the pieces I had completed when she was here, what, week and a half ago? Anyways, when she was here, I tried it on her to make sure that I had the right measurement, because it's hard. People are hard to measure when you don't physically have them. That's why you can't really, I can't make garments for people who are not present in my everyday life, because I just can't make it fit. So much of things I feel like is putting things on and trying them and going, the sleeves need to be longer, or the shoulders aren't broad enough, or you know, it's time to divide for sleeves. It's just knowing your body and your person. So it was nice to get to like set it on the person it was going to and see that I was on the right track. I've got one more project that I'm working on that I was trying to get off my hook. So when I started trying to whittle down my on the hook list this week, there were 20 things on here. And now I'm down to 3, 6, 9, 10, 17. So I've taken off 3 of them. That's 15% done. So, I mean, that still means that I have, what, 85% left? But 15% is a lot to decrease in just a couple of days. And when I decrease this, I'll be down 1 more. So this is a project that I began in December. And you first saw it in episode 28 of the podcast, so it's been a while. And this is the Uwilla shawl by Serzium Crochet. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. And Uwilla means owls. And the shawl had originally had owls on it. And now it does not, and it's not going to. So, yeah. This was made out of some yarn that I had been yarn fairied by a different person. And I don't know what exactly it is. But based on the things it came with and stuff, I think it was some Cascade Heritage Sport. And I tried to guess online what color it was, because I did to here, and actually I'd done part of the owls when I started in December, and then I finished it when I went out to California in February after my mom died. And I stopped because I ran out of yarn. And I was halfway through the owls, and I was like, what should I do? Should I just pull them out? And Steve and my dad were both like, if you know what kind of yarn it is, you should just buy the yarn. So I bought a skein of yarn, which I don't do often, from Jimmy Bean Wool, and I spent a lot on shipping, but the skein of yarn was substantially less than I thought it was going to be anyways. So the whole thing ended up being like not that expensive as far as wool is concerned. So I got my skein of yarn very happily, and here is what it looks like, and here is the color that was originally in it, because I frogged out the owls, and then I added in the new color to start the owls. Now I was going to stick this on the end, and so I figured it would kind of just like blend in, which color-wise it did. But I was not going to have enough yarn to finish the owls, because this took about 1/3 of the owls, and this was not enough. This was not twice as much, so it was not going to do the other 2/3. And obviously, because the shawl keeps getting bigger, every like row is going to take more yarn. So I decided that I really didn't like the cabled owls anyways, and just if I want to make a cabled owl project in the future, can you also remind me that I don't like how they look? I made my niece a few years ago, I made her some mitts that had cabled owls on them because it was like for some crochet along, and the mitts are cute. Like, I thought the mitts were great. I just didn't really like the owl cabling on them, but they just looked like they kind of had like a cable on the front, and if you just pretended they weren't owls, it's fine. But I just really don't like it. So I'm just not going to cable owls anymore. That's what I've decided. And I went ahead and frogged back till the end of, the designer calls this hopscotch stitch. So I pulled out a cake of yarn that I had from Bendig Yarn. It is from Australia. I got it from a swap a few years ago from a woman in Australia, and it has a combination. It's got like wool and bamboo and viscose and alpaca maybe. I had the ball band, talked about it in my daily vlog yesterday, so it'll be coming up on the vlog channel soon, me talking about this. There's going to be an episode called Frogging Owls on the vlog channel where I frog the owls out of this, but I'm a few days out now on my vlogs. But anyways, so what I have decided is I frogged back, and I'm just adding in some of this dark color. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in the silver, the more silver one that I have. And I think that after the row that I'm on, I'm actually going to cut this, so it's going to leave me with some of this dark, so that I can do the silver, then go back and do another stripe of the dark, and then end with the color that it started with. So it'll have this kind of dark streak in the middle. Let me turn around so you can see the back. And this is obviously going to require some actual blocking, because all of the things in it are actually wool, which is uncommon for me, mostly because the price point that I work at is not that high. And I originally started stashing yarn because I was making things for sale. You can't sell things at the price point that you end up paying. You know how that all goes. I've explained it before. So my stash does not have a lot of like straight up yarn, or straight up yarn. It has a lot of straight up yarn, a lot of straight up wool, and I have a lot of straight up yarn. So I'm enjoying this. I actually am really enjoying this project, and I kind of want to finish talking to you so that I can go work on it some more, because I was doing that this evening before I had to go can green beans. If you made it this far, thank you. There is a button down below you can click to subscribe to the channel if you are not already, and then all the videos here at Hooked by Happenstance will just float up into your feed as they are released. And thank you once again to the people whose names are on the shawl behind me, my lovely patrons on Patreon. If you would like to join them and become a patron, there is a link in the description below so you can check out all the fun perks, like some cool postcards from me and Peachlet. There's also a link down below to my online shop, shop.hookedbyhappenstance.com, if you are interested in project bags and things of that nature. And please share and tell your friends that I exist if you would be so kind. It is the best way to outsmart that algorithm and get more fun, crafty people over here. We'll see you next time. Bye!